In this lesson, we'll learn how to work with Cinema 4D's new motion camera. The motion camera is very fun to use because it will automatically add dynamic movements for realism. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. We'll go to our camera menu at the top and we'll create a new motion camera. And now let's go to the cameras menu in our viewport and we'll go ahead and look through our motion camera and hit play. Instantly you can see we have a very handheld type of feel. What this means is that we can speed up the time it takes to create realistic camera animation. All we'll need to do in this shot is block in our camera and we'll be good to go. So let's say we go ahead and start to work with this new motion camera. Now you'll see that we can't quite move the motion camera. We can offset the camera from its main group null, motion camera setup. And then there are other properties we have which we'll take a look at. But what we'll do is go ahead and look through our perspective view. We'll go ahead and switch our top view to the perspective. Let's also use NA so we can view this in shaded mode. That way we can use our perspective as our work camera while still keeping track of things in our shot camera. So I'll go ahead and select the motion camera setup null. And we can start to move our cameraman back. You can see we have this cool cameraman image. And we'll start to edit this also. But let's go ahead and start to move this back so the cameraman isn't too close to our aircraft. We wouldn't want him getting knocked over. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pull him back. And now what we can do is start to adjust his height. So let's go to our motion camera tag. And under the rig tab, here's where we can start to adjust things like the height of our cameraman. Very nice. So I kind of like the framing we have. Let's go ahead and start to add some animation where the cameraman almost appears to kind of walk around the aircraft. So we'll enable auto key and let's go ahead and set an initial key on frame 0. And now just before the aircraft starts to lift off, on frame 140, let's go there. And we'll kind of pull our cameraman over to the side. And I'm only animating in 2 axes here. I'm grabbing the Z and X axes using our axis band. If you do not see your axis band, you could always go to the filter menu and make sure that's on. It's just a very convenient way to animate in just 2 axes. So I'll go ahead and start to pull the cameraman around. And then we'll go ahead and add some rotation. Let's go to our rotate tool. And we'll twist them around in the heading axis to point behind the aircraft. Very nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this looks. We'll go back to our motion camera and hit play. So you can see we kind of move around the aircraft. And the subtlety looks very nice. I'd almost want to move him back a little bit more, so let's do that. On frame 0, let's go to our move tool, and we'll move our motion camera group back just a little bit more. And as we start to scrub through, let's go ahead and see how this looks. I'd almost want to rotate him to point towards the ship a bit more. So let's go to our rotate gizmo and just kind of twist that just a little bit more. Great. All right, so you can see here as we start to hit play and take a look. Now our cameraman kind of walks around. That looks nice. And then what we could start to do is have him target and point at the aircraft. So let's go ahead and start to animate our target null. I'll go to the move tool, and what we'll do here is we'll create a keyframe just to make sure that this action happens at the right time. We want this framing here on frame 140, so let's go ahead and record a keyframe to save this. And now as the aircraft starts to rise up, we can go to about frame, let's say 205 or so, and we'll just go ahead and bring up our target to point underneath our aircraft. Great. Now what we also want to do is make sure that the timing is delayed because the cameraman doesn't quite know when the aircraft is going to take off. He's just trying to follow this as best as he can. So what I'll do then is take the key that we have set around frame 206 and I'm just going to go ahead and delay that just a few more frames so it looks more natural. So now you can see the ship starts to take off. We can have the target start to point as it starts to fly away. So I've moved it on about frame 249. Let's go ahead and see how that looks. Great. And now as it flies into the distance on 360, we'll have it point in that direction. So instantly what we see is that we have this very natural looking camera animation. Beautiful. We might also want to add an in-between where the cameraman is still trying to keep up to our aircraft. So we'll go ahead and on 309 just kind of point it so it's underneath the ship, almost as if he's trying to gain stability to point at our plane. And here's what we end up with. We'll hit play. Very fun. Now something fun we can add to enhance this shot is to have a quick zoom in. So again, it looks as if the cameraman is really excited to see this really cool aircraft take off. So what we'll do is go back to our motion camera tag and notice under the focus tab we can start to adjust the focal length from here. So let's take a look at this. We want to animate this just as the aircraft starts to take off. So in about frame 259, we'll go there, we'll hold down Control, and we'll save a focal length keyframe. So once that's been recorded, we'll just go a few frames after where it starts to take off, and let's go ahead and create a quick zoom in. So we'll really start to increase this. We should have auto key on, so the change should have been saved. And here we have this fast zoom in, and then the VTOL really starts to pick up speed to take off. So we'll go ahead and hit play and see how this looks. Very exciting. All right, so here's what I like to do at this point. We can go in and we will hide all objects. So under filter, we'll set this to none. And then we'll show our polygonal objects. Again, if you have any hypernerve objects that need to be shown, you can go ahead and check that on. And I'll also show the gradient background. And now we can go ahead and hit play to take a look at our animated sequence. So instantly what you can see is we've created a very realistic looking shot by working with Cinema 4D's very neat motion camera.